This is the remix. This is the remix. This is the remix of Let's Talk Classic Hip Hop with Sister Crystal here. And I am back with another public service announcement. I'm really passionate about people getting out to vote in these midterm elections. But as I was coming across some information, um, something occurred to me. This has been an ongoing talk that I've been having with some people that I know for the past several weeks. Okay, so there is a group of possibly of disenfranchised voters, but you don't know it. Okay, let me explain. So what we have going on right now is a lot of absentee ballot voting. That means people voting by mail. They get the application for absentee ballot and they receive the ballot and they vote by mail. And that's the way I prefer to vote because I get the chance to look at my ballot and get a chance to really look at the language and everything and take my time with it. Because a lot of times when you just walk into the polls, for me, and I'm only speaking for my situation, you're on a time limit, and it's like if you don't really understand some of the language, especially some of the language with some of the different ballot initiatives. Like one initiative that we have here in Ohio is issue 1, and that's about really changing the laws to make low level drug offenses. In other words, if you were arrested for being in possession of marijuana or something like that, which is still illegal in a lot of states, a lot of times you would get I don't know if you would get a felony, but you would get a charge to where you're unable to get employment and all this kind of stuff. So our issue 1 here in Ohio is decreasing those low level drug offenses. And really the drug offense is the offense of using the drug, not committing a crime while on drugs, because I am of the belief that whether you're on drugs or not, you have to be responsible for whatever crime that you do. But I also believe that if it is determined that you committed the crime and you were under the influence of drugs or alcohol, that you should also receive treatment. But I don't believe in treatment in lieu of jail time because you still did a crime. But what this issue 1 is doing is a lot of people are in jail and have records and stuff for just being in possession of drugs. So maybe they are, addicted to drugs or something like that. And you get a record for that. So we're trying to change that. But I'm coming here because, okay, so right now we have early voting where you can go in and vote at your local board of elections and vote early before election day, November 6th. However, it occurred to me there are some states that if it's proven that the voter died before election day, like in one state in Minnesota, if a person sends proof that a voter died before 7 a.m. on election day, that vote will be challenged. And it's another state in New York, is also true in New York. If someone sends proof that the voter died or passed away before election day, that vote can be challenged. Now, one thing interesting about New York is I believe they are vote by mail only. So you don't walk into the polls. I think that's my understanding. For anyone who within the sound of my voice, if you live in New York, I want to make sure if that's true. That's just some of the information that I picked up on the internet. But I think it's horrible. Like, who would take the time to go and snitch on somebody and say, oh, yeah, this person died before election day? It's not like, and I'm having a friendly back and forth with some people that I know. It's not like dead people are voting. These are not zombie voters, and no disrespect, but these, you have all these zombie movies and all this and zombie shows, The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Z Nation. You've got all these zombie movies. So that's what is coming to my mind when I speak of this. It's who would take the time. Now, if you have a loved one, now this is serious now. Okay. A loved one that passed away, if you have experienced the unfortunate experience of having to identify someone who's passed away, you know how long it takes to get an official death certificate on that person. And so it can take 2-3 weeks, a month. And so a lot of times if a loved one passed away and they had some kind of life insurance or something, life insurance policy, the policies don't pay out until you send them the death certificate. And a lot of times a death certificate, it takes at least 30 days or more for death certificates. And depending on the circumstances surrounding the death, you may never, if it's a suspicious death or something like that, that death certificate can take months for you to get. So that's the real proof, unless, they'd be eerie and snap a picture of the person's, corpse and say, yeah, this was a voter and, they died, so throw their vote out. I'm just glad that most states will allow those votes. If you were to, because tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. So if you were to pass away, you vote, you go in and early vote now. And I ain't saying you, I'm just saying in general. A person go in and early vote now, and then they have the unfortunate experience of passing away, your vote should still be counted because you were alive when you voted. The same thing with the absentee ballot. I filled out my absentee ballot. I'm talking to you within the sound of my voice. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. If I go before election day, I want my vote to still count. And I'm glad that most states agree with that because, I voted while I'm alive. And a lot of people, you don't know, that could be that person's dying wish that they early vote. Maybe they walked into their board of elections or they did an absentee ballot and then they pass away. That could be their last wish, that they wanted to cast a vote. And to throw the vote out is to disenfranchise a voter who was alive when they voted. So it may sound kind of confusing, and we kind of, I have people that they kind of joke with me. They call me the zombie voter. I'm the zombie advocate because they say I'm advocating for dead people voting. It's not dead people voting. It's live people who were alive when they voted that happened to pass away, But anyway, yeah, this is, every vote counts. And it does. I'm glad that most states will count the votes, but I am kind of sad that there are some states that will not, and they will challenge those voters. I think that's sad because it's not like the person, is not like it's a live person voting for someone who's passed away. These are people who were alive. And like I said, you don't know, tomorrow's not promised. We having all this early voting. And then the time that somebody would have to take to go through and try to see who's alive, who's dead. I mean, how do you separate the live voters from the dead voters? You don't know. You walk in, you vote, early vote, something happens and you pass away. Who's going to be so angry and just a real, I don't want to say butthole. You're the whole ass, okay? You're the whole ass to take the time to go and dig up and look and see who's dead or alive, Anyway, I just went off on tangent. Anyway, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be able to absentee vote because I remember not so long ago you had to have certain special circumstances, like you had to be military personnel, or you had to be I think a student or something like that in order to get an absentee ballot in some states, in like Ohio. But now you can get an absentee ballot. Anyone can get one, and you don't have to have special reason for it. So, but anywho, so the people who died before election day, some of them are being disenfranchised. If you have a snitch and say this person died, And shame on you if you're the person that does that. Shame on you. Mind your own business. This is Sister Crystal here, just giving some awareness on something that's kind of odd, but we don't really think about it. Every vote counts. Why do you think they work? Some people work so hard to cheat and hold your registration and all that kind of stuff. If voting didn't mean anything, if voting wasn't important, you wouldn't have black people, descendants of slaves, wouldn't have had to wait until 1965 Voting Rights Act was passed to be able to vote. Don't get it twisted. When people say, oh, in 1920, women got the right to vote. True, women did get the right to vote in 1920, but it was white women. It was Caucasian women. I am not racist or prejudiced because I don't believe black people could be racist, but that's just me. Again, you subscribe to my channel, I talk about different things. So white women got the chance to vote in 1920, and black women, along with our black men, we didn't have the chance to vote until 1965. Voting Rights Act was passed. Anytime I hear about any kind of disenfranchisement of voters, it just gets under my skin because we've had to fight. When I say we, I'm talking about black people, descendants of enslaved people in this country, in the United States of America. We had to fight for everything that we have. And to hear, I was kind of making it's jokingly, but it's really not funny. It's really sad that there are laws, like each state, election laws are determined by each state. So it's like states' rights. And remember, when you hear states' rights, every time I hear candidates talk about states' rights, I think about slavery, because it was states' rights that allowed slavery to continue. Slavery, chattel slavery, where you treat human beings like they are your property, that kind of slavery. It just hurts my heart every time I hear of another tactic being used to disenfranchise people's votes. We just want to live and be allowed to live, and just tired of fighting. Again, I am a live person advocating for every vote to be counted, even those of people who voted early, either by mail or by absentee ballot or by early voting. Your vote should be counted. Your vote should be counted. Your vote should be counted in every state. Election laws are determined by each state. So I just wanted to put that out there just in case some people didn't know. This is Sister Crystal with Let's Talk Classic Hip Hop Remix. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, take care.